Hello, this is John with Theology Ed. This is part 6 of the I, Pet, Goat 2 Explained series that I've been working on. Part 1, we talked about spiral, rebirth, birth, resurrection. In part 2, we talked about your role, where we are in this, who this fire of truth guy, they call it, is, in one layer of meaning, and how that applies to us when we supposedly commit suicide after a big water event. And throw ourselves into the water, we die, and then we are in the boat of Anubis on our way to the afterlife or whatever. But then we talked about how that wasn't a full explanation of the identity of this guy. It would fail to explain a lot of different details of the video. So we went on and we went to part 3 and we looked at the board. Of course, throughout this we're seeing eclipses, the doorknob. We looked at the goat shed. But in part 3 we looked at 666, the mark of the beast, and how that appears in various ways, symbols related to the mark of the beast in the goat scene, and then on the chalkboard, again associated with the eclipse, and a mark of the beast ritual. This is an Aleister Crowley ritual to bring about RHK, and that gave us the identity of this Fire of Truth character in the video as basically them conjuring in a ritual magic way a demon, the god Horus, but not just Horus in general. Horus is RHK, which I'm not even going to try to say. It's like Rahar Kuit. But the idea is, as the angry, avenging god of war Horus, who comes in order to put an end to the Aeon of Osiris, totally, to eliminate what's left. And as they believe we've entered into the Aeon of Horus, but that there are still remnants, leftovers of the Aeon of Osiris. Christianity, resurrection culture, resurrection rituals and beliefs, and these sorts of things were part of what they consider an outdated way of performing religion and ritual and an outlook on the world. And that was a part of the Aeon of Osiris. And now to have the pure Aeon of Horus, you need to eliminate what's left over from that. And until that's happened, you're going to have angry Horus. And they're calling upon him to put an end to it once and for all. So they conjure him in this ritual magic video of I, Pet, Goat 2. And so we go from there. Part 4 and part 5, we got to the map. Neptune. I may have been combining different videos at this point. Either way, we get to the map, what the targets are. We look at the Psalm graffiti outside the classroom. We see that this graffiti is showing the same sequence we see on the chalkboard, including part 4 I think it had to do with retrograde motion in Venus. But turns out I think that probably isn't Venus that changing retrograde motion to direct, but I think it's probably referring, the F equals negative x, the vector equation under the board, probably referring to the beginning of retrograde motion of Neptune, which appears very clearly on the Psalm 23 board, graffiti. And so we have the eclipse, the graffiti, and the conflicts and problems and stirring up the still waters from Psalm 23. And we see the trident symbolism and the retrograde trident symbolism and various things. All of that is where we're at right now. And I wanted to go back to the hearts on the board, okay? Because they were at the beginning of the board. We sort of skipped them, except insofar as we've mentioned that they do not represent love. So we remember looking at the chalkboard, and here's these hearts that I'm going to focus on. I'm not just focusing on the chalkboard hearts either. I'm going to look at the classroom hearts. At least these 3 hearts here. There are 2 hearts here in the eyes of this skull, demon skull face, whatever you want to call it. And then there's the 3 hearts here by the buck on the wall. And even here on the floor we have some hearts. This is, I think, 2 hearts here and another one. So we either have 3 hearts here, or we just have a heart here and a heart here. We have 2. But the you can see if you look here, there's a point there and a point there, like you have 2 hearts overlapping, like I've drawn it with 2 colors here. But either way, I think it's 3. But we have 3. We have 2. I'll show you those in a second that they're there. If you look closely, you can see it. I've traced it with that color, but you see the eyes are hearts. Okay, these eyes, it looks to me like there were 2 hearts drawn up on the board first, and they erased it, and in the erasing, they made this demon shape. Okay, that was what's left over the chalk. So it's like they put the 2 up and like, no, it's destroyed, and then you get the 3. Let's see. So we're going to look at these hearts. Now there are other hearts in I Pet Goat 2. Okay, on Horus, on RHK, you have these hearts. This, of course, looks like a single heart, but it's not just a single heart, it's overlapping hearts. It's at least 2, maybe 3, depending on how you count. It looks like 2 hearts, one sitting on the other. I don't know if you should count the yellow line separately. Combined, these clearly have heart shapes. Look, his abdomen here. So we have what looks like 3 hearts and 2 hearts. 3 combining them and 2. On the man who's sinking, we have his tattoo, which has 1, 2 hearts. Okay, we have 2 hearts. We have this girl. She has only 1 heart, but her heart represents love, and she immediately sees Skullduggery, whose heart is upside down, representing not love, which is following the pattern on the board where the hearts are to the right, and then the hangman solution from right to left looks like not love. It at least communicates that, even though it's probably Noth or Nuit or Nuit's love, I think. Okay, so we go back. So we've got love, no, not love, and the nuclear, the party blower aimed at the nuclear cheek, and she becomes disappointed. We did a video on that. This girl, she has a single heart as well. That's one of the other cases of just a single heart. But again, she's with this other guy, and you see the single heart, then the lights in her eyes go out. She doesn't have a top on. The guy, she has a gun in her hand. What we're seeing is not love. So again, I think we're getting not love, and we're gonna have to analyze that scene when we get to it, and I'll explain more about it. Hopefully, I get there relatively soon, but at the rate we're going, we'll see. And then we have the lighthouse scene where we have the heart. Again, I don't think it's representing love. It's representing, you have the whore of Babylon in there, the old whore in there, and then it's in a giant phallus, so we're in a penis here, and then she's imprisoned, right? And we'll talk about this more, but the way she backs up afraid and gets up on the bed or table or whatever it is, and her legs open, and you have, to me, what looks like a final violation of her, a way of representing it without doing it even more graphically than they already did. You have a sort of a rape of the whore of Babylon, okay? And it's certainly not whatever is going on with that woman. She's a whore, and it's not love. So we're going to look at this as well at some point. But this flashes 3 times, then 3 times. You even get a partial flash another time. You may get 7 total flashes, but you get, in 2 different scenes, it looks like a 3 and a 3 in each of them. So it's like you get 3 hearts, which lines up with our 3s. There, and maybe even there. Okay? So we have these patterns. We certainly get a repeated sense of they're not love. But we can get a little more in depth about that here in a second. We're going to. So it's more than just not love. And we haven't explained anything about this in a way that would explain it. An explanation aligns with the occult, right? We're not saying here's sort of an esoteric understanding of this, or here's some sort of meaning that's mystical or whatever. Remember, they're usually doing that. If you just find, for example, the W and U out there in the snow, it looks like a woo, and there's probably an application there when we were looking at the 2017 calendar and following. Maybe, I'm not sure, but when you looked for an astrological symbol, which is meaningful to these types of people, we saw that it's actually the trident for Neptune. and we're seeing retrograde motion of Neptune, and it gave us it combined it with the Psalm graffiti, and we got context, and we understood it by trying to think about it the way they would think about it and understand how they're thinking. Remember, this is ritual magic. It's not just them telling us what they're doing. It's like what they're going to do or what they're planning to do is in there. It's embedded, but it's all as a part of a ritual. It's their goal. And they're communicating in their way to their gods, and we're witnessing it. They're not talking to us. They want us to participate in their ritual, which is conjuring or trying to get angry Horus to come out and kill Christians, basically, and end whatever is left of the institutions of the Aeon of Osiris. Now, what is the mystical meaning of these, if you want to talk about that, or the occult meaning of these? Okay, so we know it's not love. And what I'll show you right here is fascinating. In tarot cards, okay, in the tarot deck, you have different suits. Just like you have in your regular deck of cards. You have your hearts, you have your clubs, and so on, your diamonds, right? You have your different suits. And in the tarot cards, one of the suits is the cups suit. And it relates to the emotions and how everything feels, right? So this is where you get passions like love and so on. Okay, cups correspond to hearts in a regular deck of cards. What we're looking at is the Two of Hearts and the Three of Hearts in the tarot deck, which means the Two of Cups and the Three of Cups. What we're looking at are the Two of Cups and the Three of Cups in the tarot deck. That's very meaningful to these people, okay? So let's think a little bit about how these work in the tarot pack. The tarot pack contains 78 cards. 56 minor trumps or lesser arcana are divided into 4 suits. Wands, that's the cups. Cups, that's the hearts. Swords, that's the spades. And the pentacles, that's the diamonds. Each suit includes 4 court cards, a king, queen, a knight, and a page, and 10 spot cards. These are your numbered cards, 1 to 10, ace to 10. The spots, usually grouped in geometric designs, are sometimes combined with pictures illustrating the divinatory meanings of the cards. So the pictures are important, but even more important for them is the geometric signs. That's what all these decks will have, is the geometric sign associated with the number on the card. Okay, so if it's a 3, like this 3 of Hearts, what you'll find is the 3 of Cups has a triangle. It's the upward pointed triangle. That is the geometric figure of the right side up, the upright 3 of cards, which would represent things like friendship, community, creativity. Love would be in there, right? It's the idea of bringing people together. They're having a feast and all of that, the good times. Now, you go back and let's look at our board. We have a triangle, basically. I mean, I think it's not accidental that we have the same basic structure here, layout, and also on the, where's my picture? Here, right? We get something very similar. It's a downward pointed triangle. It's a 3-sided figure with the point at the bottom, and each of the hearts obviously points down. Okay, so what we have is a downward pointed triangle, which is the reverse of your upward pointed geometric shape according to the tarot that represent this 3 of Cups tarot card, which represents celebration, community, creativity, and friendship. When reversed, it means the opposite. An affair, stifled creativity, lack of community, these sorts of things. I mean, we're sort of seeing their implementation of this already with the destruction of community parties, celebrations, people getting together because of social distancing, right? We're witnessing sort of the unfolding of the opposite of the 3 of Cups. Now, so we have our 3 of Cups here, and we have the 2 of Cups, which are more specifically related to love, okay? Attraction, partnership, relationships, unified love. When you flip it over, you still get them side by side. So instead of flipping them, They can't really do that. They put it sort of up and down a little bit, but they put it in a nasty skull, a demon face. And they tell you it's not love. Don't get confused. That tarot card is not saying, oh, there's love. Okay? That card is the opposite of love. Okay? So we're going to see the opposite of love. We're going to see things like breakup, lack of harmony, imbalance in a relationship, and these sorts of things. That's how this medium.com page represents it in their illustration. Okay, they explain it, but that's a very brief explanation. These are notes that can sort of give you an idea. You can read up on these on your own. Just search it and you'll hear all sorts of weird stuff. But the idea is end of love, lack of community, lack of these things. That's what you see with these two cups being reversed. And so we go back and we see them reversed. This one's downward pointing, the three of cups, and the two of cups is embedded in a nasty looking face, and we have the not love on the board. Now, these cards have dates associated with them. In the tarot deck, cards are related to decans, a lot of the cards. Decans, which are like 10 degrees of movement astrologically or something. I don't know how this all works within the signs. Okay, the different signs. So, and corresponding to those is the dates in the calendar year. Now, let's look at the calendar dates for the Two of Cups and the Three of Cups. The Two of Cups is in Cancer. There it is, Two of Cups. And the Three of Cups is in Cancer. The Two of Cups corresponds to June 21st to July 1st, and the Three of Cups corresponds to July 2nd through July 11th. In other words, your solstice eclipse through the buck moon are exactly in the Two of Cups to Three of Cups dates. What you are looking at here is a timeline and saying not love. In this timeline, you will see destruction of unions. In the timeline, you're going to see destruction of peace and harmony. You will not find love. You will not find these things. Not love. And here's what's going to happen. We have the eclipse in it. You go up to the board, right? You see the whole board. And we say, not love, June 21st through July 11th, eclipse, ritual magic time to do this, midnight plus doomsday probably. Harm, destruction, pain, suffering, probably more symbolism in here with the shapes we'll have to look at, hopefully. Mark of the beast symbolism, dragons being released, Satan being released, Neptune, retrograde Neptune begins. With that, he summons the beasts to come out of the water. We have water issues, we have house being destroyed, and attacks on the coasts, okay? And we have water events throughout. That's what we're seeing on the board. That's our board, right? We're seeing them illustrating this with the downward pointing triangle, the nasty face. These are the reversed tarot cards that are usually positive when they're upright, but are negative and not loving when they're pointed down, that correspond to date ranges on the calendar. And here they are. Okay, so now that is why the Three of Hearts, the Three of Cups, is right next to the buck on the wall. Okay, so we go back here and we look at our buck again. Where are we at? Right here. There's the buck. We have a buck moon. When? On July 5th. That is between July 2nd and July 11th. That's in the Three of Hearts. He's sweating, he's afraid, he's running, and all of that. But that's not a coincidental pairing, having the Three of Hearts with the buck moon. Okay, with the buck. That's matching the dates perfectly. It's explaining what's going on in the classroom again. It confirms everything we've seen so far, because what the hearts are doing is they're representing the tarot cards, and they're communicating a whole message to people who think in these ways, like the occult, these people in the occult. Okay, hidden messages here are being communicated, and they give us a hint, not love, but there's a lot more hints when we start to understand how they think, understand their symbolism, and so on. Now, these aren't the only places we see tarot cards in this classroom, I believe. I believe we see one more very important tarot card in this classroom, and that is the girl. The girl has the moon in her hands, which will have a lotus flower come out of it. Okay? Look carefully at this card. This is the Queen of Cups. So now we're out of the numbered cards. We're into the, I guess, what do they call them, trump cards or something? So we're in face cards. So here is the Queen of Cups. There's a woman. It's hard to see her. She's faint back here. She's associated with water, sitting on a throne by the water because her throne is above the waters. She has an ibis with a lotus flower in it. The ibis, I'll explain, represents, in a moment I'll explain, represents the moon god. She is the moon in lotus, the lotus above the moon god. Here we have the moon and the lotus above it. We have her in the middle, and we're in this house or this school that is now above all the waters outside. And I'll explain more links in just a second. There is more than one version of it. Here are a couple versions of the card. The Queen of Cups is associated with, of course, lilies, even in this one. This is water. The downward pointing triangle is water. I forgot to mention that. That's very important with the Three of Cups being reversed. The cups are related to water. What happens? You pour the water out when your cups are upside down, right? But when you have the Three of Water upside down, you get the upside down triangle, which represents waters. So again, we're looking at that. We're seeing waters again, associated with the water events. Now, okay, she's pregnant. Okay, this is a mother goddess who brings forth children and things like this, and we'll look at this more specifically with details. So here's an explanation from on Eli Tarot Strickingly. He has a really interesting explanation of this. The Thoth Tarot and the Night Sun Tarot, those are different decks. Queen of Cups. To an astrologer, this queen rules from, here's your dates, 21 degrees Gemini to 20 degrees Cancer. Now watch, let's go back to our dates. Queen of Cups, Queen of Cups, Queen of Cups. In other words, it could have been combined with any other things, but it's combined with Queen of Cups. She's around ruling from what? June 11th through July 11th. That month, which includes the June 21st to July 11th and the June 21st to July 1st and July 2nd to July 11th. She is also ruling this period of time. It's not a coincidence that we have the Queen of Cups represented in this classroom at this point. We got the Two of Cups, we got the Three of Cups, we got the Queen of Cups, and we got the date range over and over and over and over again in that classroom. Okay, and these are date ranges that we're finding not by looking around and finding scribbled 621s or something in floor reflections. We're looking at the meaning of their symbolism. We're looking at the events astrologically that are important to them. And we're looking at it from that perspective. And we're finding it over and over and over and over again. So here it is again. And so we have the Queen of Cups in the room. And she rules the exact period of time that the Two and Three of Cups. I mean, if it was the Four of Cups, it wouldn't be the Queen of Cups and it wouldn't be the period of time. You see? Or if it was one of them, that'd be almost impossible coincidence, especially when it's put with the buck, right? It's just and if it was both of them, that'd be amazing. Put all three together, it's a no-brainer. It's right. Okay, so now we're going to keep going. Let's keep looking at the Queen of Cups. She is water of water. Primal water. It's all about water here. There's a crayfish in her cup, and she has her right hand with lotus on an ibis. The crayfish relates to the moon, and one of the characteristics of this card is that its flow changes to the influences around it. The crayfish shell in her hand also shows that she chooses integrity over illusion. The ibis is in the Egyptian tradition, a bird associated with Thoth Hermes, who has an aspect of being the moon god. The lotus in her right hand is a flower sacred to Isis. These waters on which the lotus float are a means of transmission of forces, emotions. As a court card, the Thoth Queen of Cups can mean a mature, motherly woman with deep sexual powers and fertility that may manifest as actual motherhood or through a creative line of work. Her ability to give birth to new forms, new talents, new identities, and new life is symbolized by the stork on the Thoth card and as a pregnant queen on the Night Sun tarot card. Okay? Remember, we looked at the girl, the Lilith character, who is sitting in the position which would be the Queen of Cups, right? And we talked about her being there as a birther, as one to bring forth in the case of Lilith. And then we looked at the seventh month of July, month boy, or kid behind her, and it's a birthing. That's the month of the buck moon. The head is coming out of a lotus flower, just like we see on the prophetic pillar or column in the St. John the Divine Cathedral or whatever. Okay? And so that was in one of the previous videos I've posted. And I explained that. So what we have is a connection between the girl in the classroom as the representing the Queen of Cups. Now, I don't think Lilith is the Queen of Cups. I think what's happening is Lilith is the priestess. She's in the magic circle. She's sort of governing the whole thing. She also has associations with bringing forth new life. There's the birthing out of the flower. Okay, she has all the symbolism, so she's appropriate for the role of priestess here. But I think the priestess in this case is standing in the place of Nuit. Okay, who is who? The whore of Babylon. She's Scarlet, the Scarlet Woman, as far as the demons are concerned, who plays that role. So if you go over, let me show you this. This is really interesting. Let me find it. Where did I put it? Right here? Nope. Here. Okay. This is a liturgy, a Thelemic liturgy. So that's the religion that Aleister Crowley developed. So a satanic liturgy. The purpose of the Mass of Hormaku is that all may come at last to the joy of Nuit. The great work is a service to the world, namely the universe of all life and consciousness without end. To do the work is its own reward. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. Of course, that's the motto of their satanic religion, right? The mystic Mass of Hormaku forms the liturgy of this OA and is frequent. I was going to guess. I don't know. And is frequently appended to other rites and ceremonies. The ritual may be adapted to suit solo, group, or congregational use. If a priest and priestess officiate, then they naturally assume the roles of Hadit, that's the beast, remember from part 3 of our series, Hadit, and Nuit, that was the Scarlet Woman. So whoever the priestess is assumes the role of the Scarlet Woman, meaning that the Queen of Cups would be the whore of Babylon, representing the whore of Babylon. Now let's go back and we'll see this interesting connection, not just made by me, but by our astrologer here, okay, who is the Queen of Cups. She is the supernatural Mother Bina, the organizer and counterbalance of Shakma. She is the requiter, the one who does payback, I guess. Let's see. I'm going to skip some of this here. As the Queen of Cups, she is the bright, fertile mother. She is the great sea. She is the blood, the great whore of Babylon, which in modern physics is the carbon atom. Okay, this is the whore of Babylon going to be bringing forth the beast, or not the beast, the conjured, wrathful demon, Horus. Okay, who's going to come against the church. And it's not that the whore of Babylon is going to bring this about voluntarily. When we go look at the whore in the lighthouse, she's imprisoned and raped. Okay, she's violated in order to bring this about. She's in prison, she's raped, and then when the birth happens, she dies in the birth. Right? If you go to the very end of the video, what happens? Right? Look, watch where they go. Right here, he enters. So there's the whore, but he has entered inside the whore. Now, this is a representation of being inside. Remember, the egg was fertilized. We have DNA behind here. behind him there. So, right there's the egg being fertilized. He comes in, he's in the fallopian tubes going through this whole thing. He travels, sperm goes to him, right? Here we have the representation of the rape, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so, and that's, notice the rape happened and the rocks are still falling. The fish, I'm not sure, are actually the sperm. Maybe it's just an associated symbolism. But look, when she's here, we showed this in part 1, the semen is the rock. The rock falls out of this lighthouse from nowhere, it's just rock falling. But that's representation of semen falling. Here, I'll hit play so we can see that. Right. There it is. Rocks fall. Now we go into the fallopian tubes and we see the semen fertilizing, going into the area where the RHK character is. There it is. The rocks are falling. There he is, coming along in the fallopian tubes, and we get the DNA behind him. Okay, so we have a symbolism of reproduction. This is the birth stuff going on, right? We said that very first video in the series was about rebirth or birth, resurrection, these themes. And as we clarified things in subsequent videos, we saw that it's applying to the RHK character being conjured to be birthed in rituals or events around the buck moon. Now, okay, so he keeps going, and what happens? We're going to get our connection to the Whore of Babylon Catholic Church here in a second. Again. Okay, as he exits, here he comes. We're going to see this as a vagina. Water breaks, he exits. That is the birthing of RHK whenever that event happens. And you see all the lotus flowers and all the stuff, the sun rising. And right here, notice before it just is destroyed, if you look back at the Catholic Church, that's where the door is. That was the vagina that he exited. The Whore of Babylon, who is birthing him, who was impregnated inside the lighthouse, so this is representing her, is destroyed in the birthing of what comes in her place. So with the destruction of the Eon of Osiris, you can't just get rid of good Christianity. You have to get rid of all Christianity, which depends on the resurrection ritual and so on. So even the Whore of Babylon, who served its role, quote unquote, faithfully to them for the whole period, is now being destroyed. This is the rape of the Whore of Babylon. The Catholic Church may not be voluntarily going along with this. They're going to perish along with it. So here we see the destruction of the whore, the church. That's Babylon. Okay? We enter the Eon of Horus purely, eliminating all what's left of the Age of Osiris. Now, Eon of Osiris. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Okay, she is the great Whore of Babylon, which in modern physics is the carbon atom. I don't know what the application is there, but I know the carbon atom is associated with the mark of the beast and Whore of Babylon in the occult because it has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. It's the 666 atom. Okay? But she is the great womb. Listen here. So the principal symbol of Baina, I guess, is the yoni, I don't know, the vagina, a Sanskrit word for the female vagina. I know her as the womb with the view, indicating that she is the all-understanding will to form meaning bring things about, from which all life emerges. This great womb is known to every culture with many names. She is the completion of the upper supernal triangle, which begin as a point in Kether, and line, and Shakma, and all that stuff. I don't know. So it's gibberish to me, some of it. But that's just because I haven't taken the time to finish mastering all of this. I decided I'd put it up and then I'll clarify as I go. But she is the mother. And in the previous one, she is, here, the Queen of Cups, womb of time-space that encloses all form, the great mother intelligence, understanding and sanctifying or sanctifying intelligence, The Queen of Cups sits on the throne of the waters and rules the undines and the nymphs, and she is holy womb. It is her hand in the ubiquitous cup, not only symbolizing the suit of the card, but also the holy womb. In other words, this is why when he goes into this gigantic womb, RHK, that you don't even know you're in a womb until you really analyze it and think, what in the world did we just go through? We just went through the fallopian tubes and then to a womb and then exited. We just were in a birthing situation. That is representing her, I believe. Okay. So either way, that's the big picture here. I think application of it. But if you go specifically just to the classroom and you want to look at just the classroom and see what's going on there, we have a 2 of Cups, a 3 of Cups, a 3 of Cup theme. We have the Queen of Cups there, all associated with June 21st through July 11th, which gives you your eclipse through the buck moon dates in 3 different ways, okay, with each of those cups. And so we have an understanding of what these hearts are on the board. The hearts are representing not love. It's upside down cards, okay? The upside down tarot cards that are not referring to the positive sides of these things, but negative. Not love, not community, not parties, not festivals, not celebrations, but everything that's the opposite of that. That's what's coming, and we're already seeing it, and this is all going to be, I guess, associated with the events in that period of time from June 21st to July 5th, which we've seen over and over and over again. All right. So subscribe, like, all that stuff, and have a great day. Take care.